Clarity Clinical Solutions.
Welcome to this training module on Form FDA 483, the Inspection Observation Report. When FDA investigators conduct a regulatory inspection and observe conditions that may violate the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, they document those observations on a Form 483. This form is one of the most significant documents in FDA regulatory practice. Understanding how Form 483 observations are made, how to respond, and how to prevent them is essential for every clinical investigator and site staff member. Form FDA 483, officially called the Inspectional Observations Form, is issued by FDA investigators at the conclusion of an inspection when they have observed conditions that suggest a violation of FDA regulations. It lists each observation separately, describing the specific condition or practice that the investigator believes deviates from regulatory requirements. The form is not a final determination of non-compliance, it represents the inspector's preliminary findings. The recipient has an opportunity to respond before the FDA takes any further enforcement action. The Form 483 is typically issued at the conclusion of an FDA inspection during the closeout meeting. The FDA investigator reviews the observations with site management, discusses the regulatory basis for each finding, and provides a copy of the signed form. Not every inspection results in a 483, routine inspections with no significant findings close without one. However, an inspection without a 483 does not guarantee that no issues were found, only that none rose to the level of a documented observation during that visit. A Form 483 includes several key elements. The header lists the inspected entity, inspection dates, and the FDA district office. Each observation is numbered and begins with a brief description of the condition observed. The observations cite specific regulatory violations, referencing the applicable sections of the Code of Federal Regulations. The form concludes with the investigator's signature and a space for the recipient's acknowledgement. The recipient's signature indicates receipt only, not agreement with the findings. The most common 483 observations in clinical investigator inspections include failure to follow the investigational plan or protocol, inadequate and inaccurate record keeping, failure to obtain proper informed consent, and problems with adverse event reporting. Other frequent findings include failure to maintain accurate case history records, inadequate drug accountability, and deviations related to IRB approval. Understanding these common pitfalls helps sites proactively address their most frequent compliance risks before an FDA inspection occurs. Receiving a Form 483 requires a prompt, thorough, and professional response. The FDA typically expects a written response within 15 business days, though timelines may vary by circumstance. Your response should address each observation individually, describe the corrective actions taken or planned, and include supporting documentation. Clearly state whether you agree or disagree with each observation and provide evidence. A well-crafted 483 response can prevent the issuance of a warning letter and demonstrate your commitment to compliance. Not every 483 leads to a warning letter, but the risk increases with the severity and number of observations. The FDA evaluates the response, considers prior compliance history, and determines whether further enforcement action is warranted. A warning letter is an official communication that represents a higher level of concern and requires a formal written response within a specified timeframe. If observations are not adequately addressed, the escalation can continue to seizure, injunction, or clinical investigator disqualification proceedings. The best way to manage 483s is to prevent them. Prepare for FDA inspections by maintaining meticulously organized regulatory files, ensuring all staff are trained on GCP requirements, and conducting regular internal audits. Simulate FDA inspections with mock audits that mirror actual inspection procedures. Maintain a culture of quality where deviations are identified and corrected proactively. Address any issues identified during internal monitoring visits immediately. A site that is always inspection ready is far less likely to receive significant 483 observations. When FDA investigators arrive, designate a point of contact and escort for the inspection team. Provide a private workspace and access to requested documents promptly. Answer questions honestly and accurately, never guess or speculate. If you do not know the answer, say so and offer to find the information. Take detailed notes of all discussions and document every document requested. Avoid volunteering information beyond what is asked. Remember that the investigator's demeanor does not predict the inspection outcome. The closeout meeting is your opportunity to discuss preliminary findings with the FDA investigator before the 483 is formally issued. Listen carefully to each observation, ask clarifying questions, and respectfully present any facts the investigator may have overlooked. If you can immediately correct an observation during the inspection, document the correction. However, do not argue or become defensive. The closeout meeting sets the tone for the post-inspection relationship. A professional, cooperative approach is always the best strategy. Form 483 observations, whether received by your site or published publicly, are valuable learning tools. The FDA posts warning letters and 483s on its website, providing a rich source of compliance intelligence. Review these documents regularly to identify emerging regulatory trends and common findings in your therapeutic area. Implement corrective and preventive action plans, CAPAs, that address root causes, not just symptoms. Share lessons learned across your organization. Each 483 is an opportunity to strengthen your quality systems. Failure to adequately respond to Form 483 observations can trigger a cascade of escalating enforcement actions. The FDA may issue a warning letter, then pursue seizure of investigational products, seek injunctions to halt study activities, or initiate disqualification proceedings against the investigator. For sponsors, unresolved 483s at investigator sites can delay NDA submissions and raise questions about data reliability. For clinical investigators, repeated violations can end careers. Taking every 483 seriously is essential regulatory risk management. Form FDA 483 documents preliminary inspection observations but is not a final enforcement action. Respond promptly, typically within 15 business days, addressing each observation individually with specific corrective actions. A well-crafted response can prevent escalation to a warning letter. Proactive preparation, including mock audits and continuous quality improvement, reduces your risk of receiving significant observations. Use publicly available 483s as learning tools. Remember that the 483 closeout meeting is your opportunity to clarify findings before the form is finalized. You have completed the training module on Form FDA 483. You now understand what triggers a 483, how the form is structured, how to respond effectively, and how to prevent observations through proactive compliance. Reference the FDA's inspection page for guidance, consult your organization's CAPA procedures, and maintain continuous inspection readiness. Thank you for your commitment to quality and regulatory compliance in clinical research.